In the midst of the daily struggle for survival, a young man living on the streets finds a briefcase with valuable documents belonging to a millionaire. What he asks in return for the documents' return is so humble and touching that it brings the wealthy businessman to tears. Get ready for a moving story about honesty, empathy, and the surprises that life can hold for us. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. Adeline was a 12-year-old girl with expressive eyes and a shy smile. Despite her difficult life, she maintained an optimistic attitude and a heart full of kindness. Her brown hair, always tied in a messy ponytail, framed a face that, though thin from inadequate nutrition, radiated a special sweetness. Every day, Adeline left home before dawn to scour the trash in the more affluent neighbourhoods of the city. She looked for recyclable items or anything that could be useful or sold. This routine began when her mother, Isabel, fell ill and could no longer work as a housemaid. Isabel was a 40-year-old woman, fragile-looking due to illness but with a strong spirit. Even bedridden, she strived to keep the house in order and take care of Adeline as best she could. Her eyes, identical to her daughter's, shone with pride every time Adeline came home with something useful or a few coins she had earned from selling recyclables. Life wasn't always so tough for them. Adeline's father, a skilled bricklayer, was able to support the family with his work. However, when Isabel fell ill and lost her job, he couldn't handle the pressure and abandoned the family, leaving Adeline and her mother alone to face the hardships. On a cold autumn morning, Adeline was doing her usual round through the garbage of a luxury condo. It was then that she found something unusual: a brown leather briefcase, apparently expensive, thrown among the trash bags. Curious, she opened the briefcase and her eyes widened at the sight of the contents. Various documents with an important appearance, and to her astonishment, several checks with very high amounts. Adeline's heart raced. She knew that those checks could solve all her and her mother's financial problems. They could buy the expensive medicine Isabel so desperately needed, pay the overdue bills, and even get a better house. For a brief moment, the temptation to keep the checks crossed her mind. However, something inside her, a voice that sounded very much like her mother's, reminded her that it didn't belong to her. Adeline took a deep breath, closed the briefcase, and decided to do the right thing: return it to the owner. With determination, she headed to the condominium's gutter house. As she approached, she noticed the wary looks from the security guards. Adeline was used to this kind of reaction. Her old clothes and her street girl appearance often caused this effect on people. "Excuse me," she said timidly to the security guard. "I found this folder in the trash. I think it might be important to someone here." The security guard looked at her with suspicion. "Girl, you shouldn't be rummaging through other people's trash. Go away before I call the police." Adeline tried to explain, but the security guard ignored her, making gestures for her to move away. Disappointed but not discouraged, Adeline decided to return the next day. She knew she was doing the right thing and wouldn't give up easily. That same afternoon, a man elegantly dressed arrived at the condominium's reception, visibly agitated. Paul, a millionaire businessman and resident of the condominium, asked desperately if anyone had found a brown folder. "I lost some extremely important documents and some high-value checks," Paul explained, running his hands through his grey hair in a gesture of concern. The security guard, recalling the incident with Adeline, became alarmed. He told Paul about the girl who had shown up earlier with a folder, but whom he had sent away, suspecting she might have been trying to deceive them. Paul was furious with the security guard's attitude. "How could you do that? She must have disappeared with the checks and documents." The security guard, embarrassed, promised to check the security cameras and try to locate the girl. Paul spent the night wide awake, worried not only about his lost documents and checks, but also thinking they probably wouldn't find the girl. But the next morning, to everyone's surprise, Adeline appeared again at the condominium's front desk, firmly holding the brown folder. The security guards were impressed and quickly called Paul, saying that the girl was there to return the folder. The millionaire, accustomed to a world where people often tried to take advantage of each other, decided to see her in person, curious about the girl's so different attitude. He was immensely grateful that she had returned the folder and offered to reward her. When Adeline handed over the folder, Paul opened it immediately, checking its contents with relief. Everything was there, intact. He looked at Adeline, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity in his eyes. "Why didn't you take the checks when you found the folder?" Paul asked, genuinely intrigued. "It could have improved your situation." Adeline responded simply, "Because it's not mine." "Why would I take something that doesn't belong to me?" she said gently. The girl's sincere and honest answer deeply touched Paul. He remained silent for a moment, reflecting on the purity of that gesture. "How can I thank you?" Paul asked, moved. Adeline hesitated for a moment before timidly responding, "If you could give me 20 euros, it would be a great help. It's to buy my mother's medicine." Paul was shocked by the modest request. He, who was prepared to offer a generous reward, did not expect such a humble and necessary request, and he couldn't hold back the tears. "Only 20 euros for your mother's medicine?" Paul asked, his voice trembling slightly. Adeline nodded and briefly explained her mother's situation. Seeing the simplicity of Adeline's request, in stark contrast to his own wealth, Paul felt his heart tighten and remembered the suffering he had endured. He, who not too long ago was a rather stingy person and did not usually get involved in charity, underwent a significant transformation in his life when his daughter went through a serious illness. During this period, he discovered that despite all his wealth, he could not buy a cure for her. The desperation he felt, even with all the financial resources at his disposal, made him realize just how insignificant money could be in critical moments. This experience touched him deeply and motivated him to act differently, reflecting on the true importance of things. At that moment, Paul made a decision that would change not only the lives of Adeline and Isabel, but also his own. He offered to help with the complete medical treatment of Adeline's mother. Adeline couldn't believe what she was hearing. Tears of joy and gratitude filled her eyes. Paul, moved by the emotion of the moment, hugged the girl, feeling a connection that went beyond gratitude for having his belongings returned. In the days that followed, Paul kept his promise. He and his wife went to meet them. He arranged for the best medical treatment for Isabel, ensuring that she received all the necessary care. Adeline and her mother were moved to a comfortable and safe apartment, close to the hospital where Isabel was undergoing treatment. Paul visited them regularly, following Isabel's progress and becoming increasingly enchanted by Adeline's strength and kindness. He began to see the world differently, realizing that his wealth could be used to do good and positively impact people's lives. Isabel gradually regained her health. Seeing her mother improve day by day was Adeline's greatest joy. The girl continued her studies, now with all the necessary support, standing out for her intelligence and dedication. Over time, Paul and his family became a constant presence in Adeline and Isabel's lives. He saw them as examples of kindness, finding in them the love and simplicity that were missing in his life of luxury and business. He got Isabel a job in his company as soon as she had fully recovered, bringing financial stability to the two of them. Adeline grew up to become a brilliant young woman, always maintaining her integrity and kindness. She decided to study medicine, inspired by her mother's experience and the desire to help others going through similar difficulties. Paul, in turn, completely changed his worldview and his way of conducting business. He created a foundation to help families in situations similar to Adeline's and Isabel's, offering medical treatment and educational opportunities. Years later, at a graduation ceremony at the medical school, Adeline stepped onto the stage to receive her diploma. In the audience, Isabel and Paul, with his family, proudly applauded, with tears of happiness in their eyes. That moment symbolized not only Adeline's achievement, but the incredible journey they had traveled together. That night, during the celebration, Adeline hugged her mother and Paul, thanking them for all the support and love she had received. She looked at them and said, "All of this started with a simple act of honesty. I never imagined that doing the right thing could change our lives so profoundly." Paul smiled, recalling that fateful morning so many years ago. You taught us more than you realise, Adeline. Adeline looked back, feeling immense gratitude. She knew her journey was just beginning. With her medical degree in hand, she was ready to give back all the kindness she had received, determined to make a difference in the lives of others, just as Paul had done in hers. During that time, amidst the period of extreme difficulty Adeline faced, she maintained her integrity, even when the opportunity to benefit improperly arose. This positive attitude, in turn, came back to her and her mother in unexpected ways that changed their lives. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.